Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Clubhouse Weekly. It's a brisk Wednesday evening. We're looking at about 45 degrees again tonight. Just total definite football weather. Really excited to go over last week's action, Anthony.
I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, that's true. Really, the league's kind of upside down this week. I mean, we have a lot of the higher echelon teams that we predicted would probably win easily this week lose. We have some of our bottom dwellers
Come out of nowhere.
And put up huge points last week.
Something I guess that we definitely did not expect to happen this week.
No, not at all. Let's just jump right into last week's action. Do a quick recap of what happened in Week 8 in Clubhouse Fantasy. What's the first matchup?
We're just going to start off right at the top, go down real quick. We'll start with my own matchup for Suzanne, one that we predicted to go the opposite way, almost exact in points opposite way.
Yeah.
Here I only scored 72 points, and she puts up a $117, which is probably her season high this
I believe
year.
it is. And that trade that she does make last week, we talked about on a weekly, pays off for her in spades.
I mean, both of the trades. She got Mark Ingram off J. Rome, and then Sammy Watkins, Lamar Miller, and Andy Dolphin off Brad, and they put up with a combined total of almost 100 points.
Right. I mean, really, that's the end of the ballgame for you there. Lamar Miller, like you said, he puts up a double-digit effort. We like him as a start for her every week. Sammy Watkins, he might be just becoming more than just a wild card. He might be somebody
he's going to become the key player of the Bills.
I mean, he's just breakout speed. Did you actually see last week the Bills played the Jets? Sammy Watkins is breaking away for a touchdown pass, goes for a premature celebration, gets tripped up at about the 5-yard line.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. Don't stick your hand.
Don't do that.
Get in the end zone. This is the NFL. It's not high school. You're not just the fastest guy by far.
And you see more and more players are celebrating. You see your defensive linemen celebrating a sack and tearing their MCLs.
I know. God, fellas.
It's an identical injury that you see happen on the Lions and then again on the Bears.
It happens to the kid Houston on the Bears. He sacks Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, if Jimmy Garoppolo's in the game's out of hand.
Yeah, you're probably going to sack him at least 3 times.
Yeah, if you're sacking the backup quarterback, you probably want to avoid the, I'm going to eat some poi and do a hula dance.
Exactly.
I would avoid that at all costs. Anthony, what went wrong with your squad last week?
We talked about me taking a chance on Wes Welker playing him again. We knew that this week would kind of be where I could see if I was going to play him or Marquise Colson. It's kind of like the weak spot on my roster right now is that third receiving spot.
Yeah, which is for a lot of people. I mean, that's kind of a wild card spot.
So I really got hurt there with only 1 point, but also, the Panthers are having a hard time getting back into that motion after Cam Newton's 2 breakout games. Looked like he was back. But now it seems they can't get the rest of the offense moving with Cam. Cam's still rushing. He's still trying to score some touchdowns, but the rest of the team doesn't seem to be coming along.
Well, right. Probably for the first time this year, you're disappointed with Greg Olsen.
Yeah, and that's true. He puts only 2 points up for me, but it doesn't discourage me. I think my biggest hurt came from Tony Romo getting injured in the third and only putting up 12 points for me. I was expecting all my Cowboys to put up at least 20.
Right.
And that didn't happen.
DeMarco Murray, though, he stays on track.
I don't think he's going to be stopped. I mean, they probably will slow down his touches as it gets closer to playoffs because they'll want him healthy for playoffs.
They didn't last week, though. Monday night, he goes
that's why I'm not discouraged because, as the season goes on, it seems like he's getting more touches than he was at the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, it might have been a product last week. Tony Romo, like you said, he gets knocked out of the game. They go to Brandon Whedon. They probably rely a little bit more on the running game towards the second half there. Maybe they've been passing more if Romo's in the game. And it looks like that had to hurt Des Bryant overall, right?
Yeah, Des Bryant only put up 10 points for me, under projection. I thought, he was going into that as elite wide receiver 1, projected to be like double, almost triple of his points.
Another photobomb from Rory the Lion.
Rory
the Lion, huge win last week for the
man.
Lions. I mean, I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but I mean, they go out to London. They're down 21-0 and come roaring back.
Oh yeah, that was something that we talked about. Totally being opposite. We thought it was gonna be like kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, it's like one team showed up in the first half, another team showed up in the second half.
So maybe they got tired of it.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, really, the field conditions came into play. I mean, you saw that there was a missed field goal, then a made field goal.
Did you see that film? It really looked like a high school football field. Like there was ruts that just kept coming up. Players are slipping, falling down.
I'm going to go on a commissioner's rant a little bit later in the show about some of the things that I'm discouraged about with the NFL, and playing in London is one of them. Anthony, one thing that I'm noticing on your team is that we have Tom Brady on the bench. Doesn't really cost you the game last week. You do lose by about 40 points, but definitely going forward, that's going to be a decision I think you can fall more towards Tom Brady. What do you say?
Yeah, especially now with Romo having this back injury and that's an injury that you look at. You don't just say, oh, he hurt his ankle, he'll be back in 2 weeks.
Right.
This could take him out for the rest of his life. Like, this could be done.
Right. I was kind of surprised to see him come back in that game on Monday night.
And I think he was trying to make a statement.
Like he's Mr.
Yeah, just that.
Tony Romo, I'm tough.
I'm Tony Romo,
That
Dallas
all.
Cowboys, we're going to win this year type thing. I think it's going to hurt him in the long run. I think that's just putting more stress on the area that he doesn't want to put
Right,
stress
exactly.
on.
Tony Romo had surgery last year on his back, and the last thing you want to do is be screwing around with that.
Exactly. So yeah, looking at Tom Brady, I'm probably next week I'm going to start him for sure.
Right.
And I'll probably play it by matchup and see what happens to Tom Brady or to Tony Romo. So yeah, that was congratulations, Suzanne. Great game.
Great game. Yeah.
Trade really helped you out. So let's just move on.
Yeah, and I think your squad's looking up. I think it's looking brighter than it did a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
Next matchup.
Our next matchup is you versus a random chick.
Well, I actually went out on a limb last week and thought that maybe Random Chick and her bad luck would end. It doesn't. She has a late injury in the week with Owen Daniel going down, tight end. She ends up not starting at tight end. I mean, I would like her to be on top of things, but this is something that happened Saturday night. I don't know if he's sick, stubbed a toe, something weird happened, and it's one of those things that, yeah, I mean, if you're really up to it and you're paying attention like we are, you're probably on top of that. Something, a situation where maybe some of the other players in our league, they figure by Saturday night if they, feel good about their roster, they go ahead and roll with it.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't cost her the game. She ends up falling 128 to 92. But we talked about, Marshawn Lynch down again. There's some rumors and rumblings over there that maybe there's some trouble in the locker room with Marshawn.
Which is funny. I think you get rid of Percy Harvin,
right,
who supposedly starts this trouble, and now you're probably one of the best players on your team.
Yeah,
now having trouble. So
right.
That is the Seahawks seem to
it just
try
seems.
to get a handle.
And Seattle goes down to Carolina, they get a tough win.
Yeah,
okay, they went 13-9 last week. I mean, really out of kind of a game that was a defensive struggle, but Russell Wilson ends up leading a game-winning drive down the stretch. I mean, so they show that heart of the champion, but really they sit at 4-3. They haven't. I think they haven't really. They haven't found their stride yet this year. No, it's odd to find a championship team that has chemistry problems like they have.
Yeah, but I think that I don't know. As you remove and replace parts on anything, it's gonna take a while to get back into oil and functionality.
Right.
Like you remove Percy Harvin now. You got Doug Baldwin in there now. He's kind of the new guy on the starting squad.
Right, which I like Doug Baldwin. I think he's gonna be a solid play for anybody anyway.
I would love to pick him up if I could get him off Tony, but. The thing is, now you have to watch the other players try to get used to the new system because they're going to try that passing offense is going to be based around Doug Baldwin.
Right, I think they're going to be looking for him a lot more. It's going to be a lot of Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin, Javon Curse. We talked about him last week, and I think actually one of the players in the league did pick up Javon Curse. So I think actually, we'll see it here when we go through it. But I think Jay might have picked up Javon Curse. And really not much else to go through. I mean, really, Amanda has kind of a cookie cutter lineup. She starts who she starts. She wasn't dealing with a lot of bye troubles. Really just doesn't have anybody scoring any touchdowns. I mean, she has some decent yardage games out of her receiving core, Sanu.
Let's talk about Sanu right now.
Yeah.
Looking like going to be the #1 receiver on the Bengals.
Well, no, AJ Green's coming back. I mean, he's definitely going to be a strong two.
With AJ Green coming back, he's admitted that his foot problem that he's had will last the rest of the season. It will bother him and it will affect his gameplay. He came out and said that in a press conference. So does Cincinnati take the risk?
It's something we could touch on too, though. I mean, we have the same situation in Detroit. What's going to happen when Calvin comes back? Golden Tate, much like Mohamed Sanu, I mean, one of the leading receivers in the league right now.
Yeah.
When that big #1 guy like AJ Green and Calvin come back, what's going to happen to that second guy? Is the first guy going to be performing back to those standards of the past, or is he going to fall somewhere back into some mediocre numbers? It's going to be really interesting to see. We'll touch on that again when we go through our injury recap. But I think Sanu, my prediction for Sanu would be he would fall into more of a secondary role, but a strong secondary role. I think him and Andy Dalton have really found some chemistry with AJ Green out of the lineup.
Yeah, so, I mean, this one you ended up winning 128 to 91. Tough luck for Random Chick again this week.
Not a whole lot to say about my team. I get nice performance. Antonio Brown. Just a quick second about that. I mean, it's amazing. Now Antonio Brown is actually now leading the league in receptions. I have the top two leading receivers in the league as far as receptions go. Yeah, I have Antonio Brown and Matt Forte leading the league in receptions. That's going to help me every week. Matt Stafford, it looks like he's going to put up another poor performance. First half, really struggles. Second half, comes out, hits Golden Tate for that big pass.
Oh my God, that was so big too.
Oh yeah, throws a couple touchdown pass. Throws a touchdown pass. That 75-yard bomb ends up putting up 20 points for me somehow. So, hey, I got to take it. Other than that, like I said, wasn't dealing with any bye trouble. And, Amanda ran into probably my strongest squad, and she falls.
Just a little side note, real quick before we next one. San Francisco did win the World Series, so
Yeah, well, it was.
my hats are off to them.
Oh, I mean, Madison Bumgarner. Let's just talk about him for a second. It looks like he started in Game 5, and then he came in relief tonight and threw about 55 pitches and shut down Kansas City. The Royals only put up 2 runs, and Bumgarner got. I mean, he must have gotten the last 3 innings.
And after a performance that Kansas City put up yesterday, you were looking to carry that momentum into today.
Yeah.
I thought that Kansas City was.
So did I. So did I. If I could have, if I would have had the time today to bet on Kansas City, I would have.
Yeah, exactly.
A road team has not won a Game 7 in the World Series since 1979, and it's happened. I mean, it's happened 9 times since then.
Yeah.
So home teams are 9-0 since 1979. San Francisco comes in, but that just kind of goes to show you. We touched on it with Seattle. You know, it seems like maybe they don't have the chemistry now, but these guys get it together. San Francisco's won 3 World Series in the last 5 years. These guys get it together towards the end. They put it together. They have great chemistry. I mean, really, you can't say. I mean, really, Madison Bumgarner probably one of the best performances in World Series history. He doesn't give up a run. In the World Series, he pitches, I don't know, I think he pitched probably 20 innings.
Yeah.
No runs. His ERA in the World Series overall and all of his appearances is below like 0.25.
Yeah, which is just absolutely
It's
phenomenal.
absurd. It's absurd. All right, let's move on next.
Our next matchup is Team DB versus Jamie.
You know, I've got to. We didn't give this matchup much love last week. We skipped it.
I look over it and I see the Eagles red. This is what I see. And Jamal Charles actually does what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, Jeremy Maclin. Wow. Now, it's starting to look like DB might have gotten the better of me on that trade. We talked about it earlier in the year that he trades for Maclin and he gives me Vincent Jackson, Doug Martin. I mean, Jeremy Maclin has outperformed both of them combined.
Yeah, combined. Definitely.
Yeah.
And
so, I mean, really, I mean, on the surface, that seemed like a trade rape situation. It's paying off for Team DB. I mean, he's got a bona fide stud there. I mean, he puts up 35 points for him last week. Jay Cutler gets a lot of garbage points towards the end. Let's talk about that New England offense. New England Patriots offense puts up 51 points last week. And we were critical of DB for starting Tim Wright.
Yeah, and then...
Well, I mean, and I'm still going to be critical of him because I got to see it more often. Tim Wright had only, I think he gets last week like 7 catches, 100 yards, whatever. But I mean, really, everybody, Brandon LaFell, Gronkowski,
they spread the ball so
everybody's
much.
numbers were just off the hook last week for the Patriots.
But I see that even going against some of the tough teams like Denver, I think that's going to be another really high scoring game for New England.
It could be, yeah. I agree.
I see both teams up in that score range.
I agree.
But I think we're going to see those numbers come out of the Patriots more often than we did.
More often than not. So you're thinking going forward that's somebody you can rely on to play at tight end? Week in and week out, the number 2 tight end. Now, I mean, and granted, the Patriots have been known to give 2 tight ends love. I mean, Aaron Hernandez would probably be doing that if he didn't kill somebody in prison.
Yeah, that'll do it to you.
Yeah, that'll get you kicked off.
I mean, he's got his backups, Niles Davis, who put up 17 points this week. Both of his tight ends went off.
That's true.
So he's
got an option. I mean, who knows? Maybe Tim Wright's a decent play. I would stay away.
I would play Niles Davis over.
Yeah,
Tim Wright, just for the fact that he's starting.
I'm going to stick with that. I'm not going to be Mr. Hindsight about it.
But I mean, other than that, Jamie's team. I mean, we predicted her to be about 95 points.
She puts up her points. It's just that her hubby, Team DB, puts up a huge number. I mean, 130 is about double than what he's used to doing.
I'm just going to say this one time. We've said it 4 weeks in a row. Larry Fitzgerald on the bench. If you're not going to use him, trade him.
Why?
And you got Brandon Marshall. You may want to look into.
Is Kelvin Benjamin? She played Kelvin Benjamin.
Yes, she did. Also played Torrey Smith. Didn't get her any points. Terrence Williams puts up 9. So I mean,
she played Terrence Williams over.
No, Torrey Smith put up 0.
Oh, and who else? Okay, so Marshall. Okay, yeah. I mean, in that situation, I'm starting Larry Fitzgerald.
Yes.
I mean, we talked about last week. I mean, we were on the fence about it a little bit last week. I mean, Torrey Smith not a bad option. We talked about the Smith guys over there in Baltimore, but Larry Fitzgerald.
It's been like the 3rd week that he literally puts up points for you.
Take him to the prom.
He's sitting on your bench.
Take him to the prom.
You should take him to the prom.
Take him to the prom. I mean, he's a nice guy, actually. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, they're actually very well-spoken young man. I mean, he does a lot of great, like an ambassador to the NFL. I don't get it. I mean, he's still, if you watch the Arizona game, just a quick note, that 70, 80-yard touchdown that he had beginning of the second half, You saw that Larry Fitzgerald still at the Jets.
Oh my God! You see him. You actually like visibly see him start pulling away at
like,
a certain point, and it's like he wasn't even trying to run. And
no.
then all of a sudden he's like, "Well, I might as well just do this."
He put 5 yards on the DB over like
really
50
quick.
yards.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to the next matchup. Congratulations to Team DB. And we talk about it all the time. I mean, DB goes up to, 2-6?
Yeah, he's now in the playoff race.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the bottom. You can't give up. I mean,
it's so close right now that if you pay attention to your team, you still have a shot at getting in.
Especially, we'll hit on the bye week that we're going to be into. I mean, there's definitely some holes that some of the better teams are going to have this week. What's the next matchup, Anthony?
The next matchup is J. Rome versus Eat My Dust, Brad Orr. I think we all both predicted this one to go the way it did.
Yeah, we call Brad in a walk. Brad does walk all over J. Rome, goes 123-81. What production? Where did he hit? What did he hit on last week?
And Aaron Rodgers.
And there
Chris
you go.
Ivory.
Yeah, I mean, we've been tough on Chris Ivory, but I mean, he puts up a decent number somehow, some way. That Jets offense is like an absolute dumpster fire. Still is. Geno Smith throws 3 interceptions in the first quarter.
Michael Vick comes in and sucks it up.
Yeah, he sucks too. But I mean,
fumbles, I think 3 times.
Well, we called it last year on Weekly when we proclaimed Geno Smith to be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, and he definitely proved that for us last week. Yeah. One thing I want to touch on for Brad's team is Shane Vereen, and this is something we were kind of wrong about last week. We talked about Shane Vereen that maybe, just maybe, the New England Patriots offense.
And then we found out what they actually want to do, and that's pass the ball to Gronkowski.
Well, maybe Vereen is going to be the guy, and they're going to settle on one back. But Jonas Gray, the undrafted free agent out of Notre Dame, he's the one that gets the bulk of the carries last week. I just don't understand. I mean, if you try to understand Bill Belichick and how he's going to do it, you just don't.
See, I think that's what I like about him. That's the fact that not only will Tom Brady spread the ball, but they're going to bring in an unknown running back.
And just give him the ball, and he's going to succeed.
And look at it. Yeah, like
that's the culture they've created, though. It's just like, I really think that if you and I went out there and said, hey, can I play,
let me play tight end.
Let me play special teams.
Yeah.
Let me
run
we'd be lighting people up or something, you know?
All of a sudden, I'm amazing. Like, I can return.
I don't know. It's like the system that he puts people in, it doesn't matter. It goes to show what leadership will do for a team. And that's why you got to show up for your fantasy team. If you're not leading your fantasy team,
then they're not going to.
You're going to end up like the Jaguars. But if you lead your fantasy team, you lead your fantasy team, hey, maybe you'll end up like Bill Belichick.
Just a couple notes on J. Rome. Brian Quick is dead now, so I'd probably get rid of him.
No reason to have him on your roster.
Ahmad Bradshaw again. Yeah. We talked about it last week.
Puts up a decent number for him.
Yeah.
I mean, and we already proclaimed that J. Rome was right. We were wrong.
Yeah. Jimmy Graham comes back, puts up some numbers.
But I mean, there you go, though. This is what I want to touch on with J. Rome's team. I think that he's going to live and die with Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah, and I think...
Or Nick... Does he still have Nick Foles?
Yeah, and...
or whoever he plays at quarterback.
And he should have played Nick Foles, because even with the loss, put up almost 10 points more than Russell Wilson.
I think next week, though, you still have to go with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson playing at home.
You're not going to convince me about that.
Oakland.
I know, but you know me and my Phillies. I told you.
Russell Wilson's at home against Oakland.
Yeah, but
he's probably projected for like 25 points this year.
We'll look at that later.
We'll get into it. But J. Rome really just...
Keep trucking.
Yeah, good
luck.
That's
all you can do.
Good luck. I mean, J. Rome, what is he now? Then he's 4. Is he 4? 4?
Yes. No.
3 and 5.
3 and 5.
3 and 5.
Yeah.
Make sure before I make this proclamation.
I'm pretty sure he is. So too. No, he's 4 and 4.
He's 4 and 4. Right. Even at 4 and 4, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think J. Rome's one of the weaker teams in the league.
All right.
I think that he might be outside looking in.
Okay. This is.
Oh my gosh.
I mean.
I feel like I need to show a little respect.
Oh yeah, because now the first place team in the league, Jay's team, puts up $166. The most points this year, which the record he held this year.
Yeah, I mean that he's breaking week in and week out. I mean, he's going to creep up to that 180 number.
It's going to be scary. I don't want to play him in the final week before
that former player and pioneer of the league, Pedro Perez.
Oh, Pedro Perez.
Big P. Jay's coming after that 180 number. Pedro last year puts up 180 points, and I mean that's an unheard of fantasy number. We don't have any silly scoring or anything like that. There's no multipliers and this and that for touchdowns over this amount. This guy's really just putting up those numbers.
There you go.
Let's just go player by player, just so that folks out there understand what fantasy studs we're dealing with here.
All right, we got
and also how it's materialized, especially because we're going to talk about how New England plays into his offense.
Yep. We have starting quarterback Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, top 3 quarterback every year.
Demarius Thomas.
Top 2 receiver.
T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton, breakout receiver this year. Thought maybe he would have some problems with Reggie Wayne back. Nope, still the number 1 guy.
Julian Edelman didn't really put up the numbers this week, but we'll get into that.
Weak spot on his team.
Yep, I believe so. Arian Foster.
Foster, people were down on him, thought that maybe whatever his back problems were going to bother him. No, he's top 3 running back.
Ronnie Hillman, great pickup.
Yeah, Ronnie Hillman, a waiver wire pickup, playing on a great offense.
Rob Gronkowski.
Rob Gronkowski coming around injury-free. Last week, the first time in 2 years I've seen Rob Gronkowski look like Rob Gronkowski. That is scary. That is scary. He scores. I mean,
the dude is bigger than me and you.
He's like a lineman that can run and
jump and
catch.
Kill people.
He catches the ball, and if you give him the ball, we talked about Demarius last week, right? Mm-hmm. And we said Demarius catches the ball with nobody 2 feet around him, he's gone because he turns the Jets on. Rob Gronkowski catches the ball with people on him. You're like, he's just gonna throw him off of him and get to the end zone.
And that's what he does last week multiple times.
It'd be like if you were playing with a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
and you're just dragging him on your leg. Yeah,
that's Rob Gronkowski. That's what makes him a great player.
Unbelievable.
It's good to see him back as his former self. Then he's got Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever for the defense.
Whatever defense, whatever kicker. But those are the fantasy studs. And the one thing that I'm going to look at on his bench, one of the things I do like, this is the thing. I think we said that Jay's a fan of the show, and I think he's taking notes.
Yeah, obviously, look who's on his bench right now.
Picks up Jermaine Kearse. Jermaine Kearse from Seattle.
Yeah.
He picks up Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson quietly double-digit fantasy points for the last 4 weeks.
That's all. He's
down there playing for the Jaguars.
He's a sleeper.
He's looking for that 3rd receiver.
Yeah, exactly.
Kudos to you, Jay.
Good work. Keep it up. I just want this is what makes me excited to invite people back. Is you see people who at the start we were kind of like, maybe whatever, but then now they're just dominating the league, and this is somebody I want to play with next year.
Absolutely, we love it. Let's go look at Miles' team. I mean, this is Miles puts up 127 points and loses by 40, and
this is his team. Doesn't change much from last week. He goes with you saying you'd play Michael Floyd.
Yes.
I said Malcolm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Michael Floyd is an absolute disaster last week. He actually drops a touchdown pass.
Yeah,
so
and
his numbers
was his only target.
I own Michael Floyd in another league. That's probably why I'm a little bit biased about it. And he's put up some decent numbers, some weeks this year. A goose egg. I don't know. In my honest opinion, I think I'd stick with it for another week and then make a decision. The problem is that John Brown, rookie receiver out there, is starting to look like a real deal. And him and Carson Palmer's got something going on. And Larry Fitzgerald gets back into the offense last week.
And he's probably going to stay there.
Yeah, I would think next week, Michael Floyd is not a receiver that deserves to ever put up a 0. I think that Arizona looks for him next week. They force it to him next week.
Well, I'm going to say still go with Malcolm Floyd next week. I think he's...
But obviously, we will disagree about that for the next couple weeks, and maybe you'll end up being right. I like Malcolm Floyd as well. Trust me. I love San Diego Chargers. I want to talk about this. We called it last year on Weekly that I think when we were doing our predictions, he still had Matty Ice in the lineup.
Yep.
Had Ben Roethlisberger on the bench.
And he plays Ben this
And
weekend.
we tell him to play Ben Roethlisberger.
And Ben breaks records.
45 fantasy points. Miles, I have no idea.
500 passing yards. Second time he's done it.
6 touchdown passes.
Yeah, the only person to hold that record.
Really, statistically, the greatest performance. He doesn't break the record for yardage, but statistically, the best quarterback performance in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, so, that's something you got to look forward to.
Yeah, obviously.
He won't do that every game.
He's not going to do that every game, but I think that you're playing matchups a little bit more now.
Exactly, that's what you got to do.
Yeah,
you're starting to be there for your team.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get.
Miles can't hang his head about his performance last week. You put up 120 points for the rest of the year. You're making the playoffs, and you're going to be something.
Falls to 2-6.
He's in it though. He's still in the race. He puts up a bunch of points last week. I'm pretty sure that he's kind of in that same area that the
points are going to matter.
Well, right, and he's in that same area that Random Chick is in, where his points are good.
Yep.
He's got decent overall points. He's going to be playing matchups at that quarterback position. But really, the rest of his roster, let's give me a little quick look at that.
He's still got Cecil Shorts.
Yeah.
I see weakness still.
There's some weakness.
That's my concern because even when looking at the bench,
but we have AJ Green on the bench. He's going to be back.
Yeah.
He actually, interestingly enough, this is a dilemma I've dealt with in my other league. He does bench Seattle's defense last week. They actually end up putting up a decent number, but he finds a better defense and puts up Cleveland last week. If I were Miles, I would.
Browns.
Yeah, the Browns. The Browns. Browns.
I mean,
My bad, the Browns.
you just play that matchup. Just keep doing
Yeah,
that.
I mean, you can play that matchup, but I think that going
Seattle
forward,
all in
he's
all.
going to play Seattle
Yeah.
every week, and you don't waste that roster spot.
No, definitely not.
Especially not at this point
You
in the
drop
season.
Cleveland,
All the
pick up
buys that are
somebody.
out there.
Yeah, you can find
There's some
somebody.
equity
We're going
out
to talk
there.
about
Yeah.
it in a second.
All right, let's go ahead.
Very last matchup of the week was Bitches Love Cheese San Antonio.
Wow, dude, we missed this one as well. Jeez.
Well, I mean, that's what I like about Tony's team. We either miss it or we get it, and sometimes we miss it.
Well, yeah, we either say he's going to win or lose, so there's only two options.
I know, but usually whatever we say he doesn't do.
Well,
And
we
this
talked
week
about it.
we're
We talked
like Bitches Love Cheese is gonna just beat them.
Well, we talked about it, though. I mean, Tony relies heavily on, three guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Antonio Gates, Peyton Manning,
Manning,
and Golden Tate.
breakout receiver.
It's just, let's talk real quick about Golden Tate. We touched on it earlier. Golden Tate, the top 5 receiver this year, putting up huge numbers back-to-back weeks. But that's something, Calvin comes back. What are we going to do? He also, really just gets mediocre performances from everybody else. But, Golden Tate puts up 23, Peyton Manning 23, Antonio Gates 20.
I mean, that's all. That's a good.
That's what
everyone else can just put up their
mediocre,
projected or lower, and you're going to be okay. You've already put up 70 points on that.
And we talked about Emily's team. She's dealing with a little bye-week trouble. Colin Kaepernick, Michael Crabtree out for her.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wouldn't worry about the loss. Definitely not. Emmanuel Sanders, what a great... We talked about it last week.
We did. We already talked about Emmanuel Sanders last week on the show. Nobody gets in the end zone for her. That's her problem. She has decent yardage out of Ellington and... out of LaShawn McCoy. No touchdowns, though.
That's all right. That's what I like about your running backs. They may not score a touchdown. Even if they rush for 100 yards, get some receiving cards, and they're going to put good money for you.
Yeah, but I disagree. I mean, for her, or any McCoy owner, he hasn't had that game.
I think I said, week 3, that was the prime time to trade McCoy. Like, if you want a running back that's going to produce for you right now, the Seattle offense is going in the passing direction.
Philly?
Yeah, Philly, sorry, not Seattle.
Yeah.
They're going to go in that passing direction.
Jeremy... Yeah, but McCoy can be part of the passing game as well, Anthony.
We just don't see it happen.
I know. I'm frustrated for it. I don't even know McCoy. I'm just a fan of McCoy.
Yeah,
I know that.
I talked him up last year. Just on and on about how
right.
The guy they're gonna build. I thought they were gonna build a franchise around McCoy.
Well, Emily falls to 6-2. Nothing to worry about though. I mean, really, she still puts up close to 100 points. I mean, that's what we talked about. Emily's team, you got to beat her. And Tony just went out and beat her this week. She could have played probably half the league this week and won. She's gonna make you beat her. She's got a solid enough roster that she's going to put up the points every week that you have to
fight to win.
Yeah, you have to fight to win. All right, Anthony, that's the end of Week 8 wrap up. We'll talk a little bit about, we're really dealing with bye-week trouble now. Think about it this week. Think about all the fantasy studs that are gone this week.
Yeah, all the Lions.
If you own anybody on Detroit, so we're talking Matty Stafford, we're talking Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, all out this week. You own Chicago Bears.
Oh, Brandon Marshall, Jay Cutler,
Alshon Jeffrey, Matt Forte, Martellus Bennett.
This is going to hurt.
Gone.
I mean, those are just 2 teams.
Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, yeah.
Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, Roddy White. Gone.
Yeah.
Green Bay?
No, they play
No, they play this week. No, I mean, just that alone. I mean, those are some fantasy studs.
That right there, that's huge.
And you got to look out. I mean, you got to get out there in waiver land because there's always value out there. Like, for example, the kid out of New England. I mean, if you're not paying attention, you don't know who Jonas Gray is.
Nope.
Okay, if you're paying attention, you know where they touched the ball like 17 times last week. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he was a real integral part of the offense. If you have Matt Forte and you have no backup running back, we should be finding him and putting him on your team. Yeah, and not starting some scum bum like Bishop Sankey or, whatever. I mean, for real, Chris Johnson or, one of these guys that you've just been holding on to because you think maybe it'll pan out. Yeah. There's always value out there in waiver land, and you've got to find it. I don't know how to stress that enough. I mean, like I spoke about last week, I have Darren McFadden on my team. I just picked him up off of waivers. I mean, I'm starting Darren McFadden this week because I'm dealing with Matt Forte, Reggie Bush.
Unfortunately, I only have the Chicago defense and kicker as my buy. So I mean,
but still, that's still trouble for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to make the decision whether you want to hold on to those guys and replace them, or if you're just going to drop them.
Yeah. Luckily, I was able to pick up Nick Novak.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, yeah.
So,
but did you drop Robbie Gould?
No, I didn't. Of course not. He's one of the most accurate kickers in the game.
I know. But that's a debate that fantasy players have to play. Now, I disagree with you. Okay. Outside of, in my opinion, in this league right now, the way that this league is, or the way the NFL's played this year, the only kicker that I would actually hold on to and not drop would be Steven Gostkowski.
Oh yeah, well I guess you.
Yeah. Everybody else, I dropped Mason.
Drop and go.
I dropped Mason Crosby this week because he's
wow.
on the bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Packers are on the bye as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Aaron
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers,
Oh,
Jordy
wow,
Nelson, Randall Cobb.
I think this coming week is going to be maybe one of the lowest scoring weeks we had.
I think there's 6 teams on the bye.
Yeah,
so I mean, it's sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 6. There's 6 on the bye this week, and there's just gonna be a lot of trouble out there. But you got to get out there in waiver land. You got to find some of those bonus pickups. I mean, I was reading like Brandon LaFell, for example. Okay, I have him. I'm playing him this week, but in something like 40% of leagues, he wasn't owned.
Yeah, and he's still like that.
Yeah, how how is he not owned? If he's out there in your league, you got to go pick him up. We've talked about one of the guys, Andre Holmes out of Oakland. There's a guy.
Pick him up.
I mean, we bash on the Jaguars here, but you know what they do? They're behind. They pass all the time. Allen Robinson, again, it's available in like 50% of fantasy.
Denard Robinson's probably still available.
You've got if this is just people not paying attention. If you want to win your league, you have to pay attention.
Yeah,
and you have to pick up these gems
like this because those gems are going to be what gives you those extra points.
What it gives you the extra wins. You're going to win your division, have better seeding going into the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Totally agree with you.
All right, Anthony. You know what? Like we've talked about it before. We want to do some different fun things here on Weekly. Not just have it all be fantasy football or Clubhouse League or anything like that. I just want to talk about some of our favorite sports movies. What do you say?
I'm totally down with that. I got like 50 in my head.
Well, let's not do 50. Let's just do 5.
5?
Let's do 5.
All right, you start me off with one. I'll think of the next.
All right. What do you think about Caddyshack? I mean, we can count it as a sports movie. They play golf.
Oh, they play golf almost in the whole movie.
Noonan.
Yeah, I definitely say it could be one of the...
I mean, really one of the classic films of all time. Chevy Chase, Bill Murray. I mean,
they kind of built...
it's hilarious. It's hilarious. One of my favorite films of all time. There's just so many, like you just be like, Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, they're... smoking that huge ganja joint in cannonball. Yeah, I mean that, or the whole scene at the end where they're trying to make Danny Noonan miss his putt, or the who I love in Caddyshack that doesn't get enough he doesn't get enough pub is Spalding. Spalding is the nephew of Judge Schmales.
Yep.
And Spalding's always. They're out playing golf that one in a scene, and he's like, "I want a hamburger and a cheeseburger." I mean, dude, Spalding's awesome, and he ends up throwing up in that guy's Porsche because he drinks the drink with like cigarette butts in it or something. Yeah, let's go. Awesome. Give me one.
All right. Days of Thunder.
Really, Days of Thunder. Wow. I mean, really, classic film. Probably underrated as far as I'm concerned. I actually think it's a decent movie, not just a good sports movie. I mean, really, if we want to think of an all-star lineup there too. Tom Cruise. Yeah. You've got Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid playing a serious role.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Nicole Kidman. I mean, not a huge fan of her, but definitely in her hotter days. Whoa, there you go. Definitely in her hotter days, like back in early '90s. And I mean, really, if you want to think of the classic line from that, I mean, Robert Duvall plays Cruise Chief.
Oh yeah,
Harry on. Yeah. I mean,
what are you talking about, Harry?
Yeah, well, no. 2 things I want to touch on that. I'll move on to that one. I love the scene in Days of Thunder where Tom Cruise, this is when he's still struggling, and Harry tells him that he can't pit. Why can't he pit?
Why can't I pit?
What? Tell me, why can't he pit?
Because we're having some ice cream.
Yeah, having ice cream? I don't sure as hell know what NASCAR would think about you trying to eat an ice cream cone. You already hit every goddamn thing out there.
See, I think my favorite is when he actually is like, all right, so you've already hit every other damn car out there. Now, why don't you go hit the pace car?
Oh, my gosh. What a classic. I mean, really great movie. And then, obviously, the favorite line in that movie is when he's out qualifying. What does he tell him?
I'm dropping the hammer.
Oh, I
love
it.
You're not.
No, you're not. I mean, really, if you haven't seen Days of Thunder, watch it. You don't even have to be a race car fan. Just watch it. Let's see here. What do we think about League of Their Own?
I like it. I think it was a milestone movie, actually. I think it put the light, it's obviously a movie about women playing baseball. And I think it just kind of it was during that time where there was a needed shift in
Right.
like the feminist movement or whatever.
Well, I mean, all the girls did all the jobs back home because everybody was out getting killed overseas.
Exactly. So why can't they play baseball?
You know, I mean, really, I think that some people would say, you know, that our man card should be taken away because we're going to talk about a female baseball thing. But I mean, really, just a classic movie. Yeah. Tom Hanks is great. Yeah, I mean, really, all-star lineup.
I mean, this is it's definitely a great movie.
Yeah, no, Gina Davis is just like the badass pitcher, her kid sister. Yeah, exactly. They're spitting all over the place. They're being badass bitches, making funny jokes. Tom Hanks is just like the classic drunk manager. Like
he's like, oh god, I'm coaching a bunch of girls.
Oh my god, he's just miserable all the time. But you know, coming to life story, he ends up being like warm to all the girls, and they have a fun time. And they win it all, right?
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it, sorry, they win.
No, sorry. How about Hoosiers? I'm from Indiana. I was gonna go to IU. I've been there. I've seen where that story took place.
I mean, huge basketball fan. I'm a huge basketball guy. I mean, really, it's based on a true story of a high school basketball team from a small town that wins the state championship. And now, folks out there that are maybe from Michigan or from other parts of the country don't understand. Like basketball is everything in Indiana.
Yeah, kind of like hockey is kind of like
the big deal. Thing up here. Yeah, but I think it's amplified even more. I remember, just a quick side note, like I was driving through like Kentucky, Indiana, coming back home one year, and the World Series is on. Yeah. All right, the radio. You know, I'm trying to find the World Series on the radio, and this is before satellite radio and all that junk. But you know, I'm like, you know, trying, whatever. I swear I went through seven shows that were talking about high school basketball before I found the World Series.
Well, see, that's just a quick side story real quick on this. Growing up in Indiana, like it was basketball. We loved the Pacers, you know, we loved the Hoosiers, and it was always like the Purdue Hoosier, rivalry. And then I come up to Michigan to go to school up here, and they're like, "You want to go to a Red Wings game?" I'm like, "Is that like an amateur baseball team?" I was like, "I don't even know what the fucking Red Wings are."
Right.
And I go to my first hockey game ever, the first time I ever see hockey like ever, and I'm just like, this is a sport?
Right. Well, I mean, basketball is definitely, it's the mecca down there. People love it. You know, kids playing, you know, basketball and like straw hoops and shit. It happens down there. Trust me, folks, they love it. And Hoosiers is really just, I mean, it's based on a true story about a small town team that gets a new coach, and the coach is very disciplined. Gene Hackman plays the head coach of the, I can't think of the name of the school.
Yeah, I can't remember. I have to watch it again. I haven't watched it recently.
No, it's been a while. But great movie. You got to get out there and see it if you haven't.
Give me one more, Davey. Give me one more. It's got to be golden, though. It's got to be.
Tin Cup.
Kevin Costner?
Yeah, Kevin Costner. Cheech Marin.
Yeah, that's a good one. Why didn't I think of that?
I love Cheech's role. Like seriously, like is the caddy.
Oh yeah.
Like he's so great. Kevin Costner's great in that movie too.
Yeah, that's I can't believe I even
Rene Russo.
Yeah, why didn't I think of that one?
I don't know. I mean, really playing Roy McIlroy. Yeah, I mean he like goes and like somehow he qualifies for the U.S. Open like with just a 7-iron.
He's just like, that's all I got.
Got the 7-iron. Oh, Don Johnson. Johnson
Johnny
plays
J.
Yeah, Donnie J plays like the villain in that. Yeah. You know, honestly, really not the. I wouldn't say it's like the best storyline of all time, but the action is really good. The acting is really good. If you haven't seen Tin Cup, you should watch it. You should go. It's like a little bit more serious version of Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
That's about all I can say about it.
Yeah, me too. That's good. I like that.
Let's get into.
Hold on, real quick. Tell us about your favorite sports movies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hit us up at Clubhouse Weekly. Just throw it out there. Hashtag top sports movie, and then put it on there. We'll take a look at it. We'll let it go through them. You know, that Twitter's for you guys.
Yeah, please. We haven't got any questions yet.
We want to know what you think. We want to know your questions. We want to tell us what we can do better. We'll address those. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, I'd love it. We still don't have any questions. We'd love to have our first question. Quick note, things that I don't like about the NFL right now. I cannot stand them playing in London. Okay. Yeah, because why? You're just taking like a home game away from an NFL team. So like the Falcons only got 7 home games this year.
Even though that one was at home.
Right, in London. Yeah. The field's shitty. They don't understand football over there.
No, it's a soccer field. That's what it is.
It's bullshit. I can't stand it. I got football on at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you're in the West Coast, that game's on at 6 in the morning. Stupid. And then I don't like Thursday night football. You know, I mean, I know that everyone wants to get as much football in as possible. I think that
Why can't you just add a game to Sunday night football?
right. Give me Friday night football. Give me something better. Thursday night. Thursday's just too early. These teams only get 4 days to rest. Tomorrow night we're gonna have the Saints playing. They played on Sunday night.
Yeah, so 8:30.
Yeah,
and so they get almost that's a little less than. I mean, if you think about it, those teams that play, I would rather see the Lions play on Thursday.
well, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 4 days to prepare. I think you get a subpar product on Thursday night football.
And you don't even start practice till what?
Well, they
Tuesday,
get 1 day to
Wednesday?
prepare.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. It's stupid. You're getting a subpar product, and then I mean, never mind the fact that it's going to screw up our fantasy rosters.
Yeah, that's bad news.
Why don't you say we move on to week 9 predictions?
Yeah, let's just go through them real quick. I mean, this week we got me versus random chick.
Ooh.
You know, I don't think I'm going with myself on this one. I just think I have an overall stronger team. I found that third receiver this week, but I do have a little bit of depth there to kind of rotating. I'm going to play Marquise Colson. He's been doing okay the last few games. He had a really good 100-yard receiving game, and then last week puts up a good 8 points. I mean, It's not obviously I want more production there, but I think that's going to be enough to stabilize where I'm at. I think overall, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that you got a pretty even matchup there. I think that Yahoo probably has you predicted to win by, whatever, 15, 20 points, whatever it is. I think that, I think really Giovanni Bernard home against the Jaguars. I think you need to hope to make sure that he plays.
Yeah,
they're talking that he's questionable, that he might have some injury trouble, and this could be a game that they might say, well, we're playing the Jaguars.
Which
we
could be fine.
We could just sit out Gio.
Which I actually would love them to do that just for the long run. I would hate for him to go in, get hurt.
Right.
That hip injury is another one of those serious injuries. But we'll get into that. I'm not going to get too deep into that. I mean,
but it doesn't look like Amanda's dealing with much bye week trouble. It seems like she's starting her A lineup.
Yeah, she definitely did.
So I don't know. I mean, I think this is more of a toss-up matchup, but I'm going to go with you in a close game. I think this is one of the closer matchups we have this week. I say it's going to go about 105-100, somewhere in there.
All right, I'll go down.
All right, next matchup.
It's going to be you versus San Antonio.
No, this is Tony's. Tony's lucky. I'm dealing with some of that bye week issues that we were talking about.
I actually don't think we can talk about this one right now. I mean, as of right now, Tony hasn't changed anything. And I think you're going to win.
It's Wednesday. I'm hoping that Tony fixes his lineup before Sunday. We're going to assume that he does. He's going to have to get out there in Waverland, pick up some plugins.
He's got, He's got Detroit
he has Detroit
on the bye.
Yeah, he has Detroit and Buffalo's defense both on a bye this week. Probably something you're not looking at if you're going to carry two defenses.
Yep.
Probably want to make sure they don't have the same bye week.
Yep, definitely.
He's dealing with Golden Tate on a bye. Bishop Sankey on a bye. He's probably going to have to plug in some random running back.
Yep.
But on the flip side, he catches me in a week where I have Jordy Nelson, Matt Stafford, and Matt Forte all on buys. Reggie Bush on the bye, which I don't mind, because maybe Reggie's going to actually get healthy and get back in the line.
Yeah, I think that's going to be healthy for him, so I definitely wouldn't worry about that.
But I'm able to plug in like we talked about. I plug in Terry McFadden, who I picked up off of Waverland.
Which is great.
I pick up Brandon LaFell, who I picked up off of Waverland. So I'm able to plug in some starters that might have some equity. And like I said, I think Tony's catching me on a good week, but I still say that I come away with this win. I think this game goes way under projection. They have me projected at like 110 points. I think I'm lucky to get 95 points, but I think Tony's lucky to get 80.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Next up, we got Team DB versus Raji McFeely.
Well, this is kind of this is a key match for these guys.
Yeah,
I think whoever loses this, Suzanne's actually in the playoffs right now at 3-5.
Yep.
But she has one of the lower point totals in the league.
And if she loses, that would put Team DB in the playoffs.
Well, not in the playoffs. It would all depend on what else happens. But I think that whoever loses this game is out.
All right, yeah.
Out.
Well, we obviously see DB hasn't fixed his lineup yet, so only Wednesday. I don't know. I do mine like Sunday.
I'm all over
Monday night, after Monday night football.
I'm all over it immediately. We'll see what happens.
But she's got Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah,
on a
she's
bye.
dealing with a huge bye week issue.
Yeah,
she's really gonna have to scramble. I think this is another game that doesn't get out of the 70s.
I actually think DB's gonna hit his projected points of 60.
Which way do you go with this then, Suzanne?
Suzanne.
I go with Suzanne as well.
Next up is Jay Rowan versus Jamie. Another low scoring. It looks like.
Well, we talked about it. It's probably gonna be a lower scoring week overall in the NFL.
He looks like he's got Nick Foles in. I think it's a great start. You may not go with Nick Foles.
Right, I go with Russell Wilson.
I mean, he is playing Houston. J.J. Watt's just a machine on quarterbacks right now.
Well, but Right, but I go with Russell Wilson just merely for the fact that he's playing at home against Oakland. At home, look at that number. What's the number he's projected
at? Lower than Nick Foles.
They've got him at 16. I disagree. I would go against the numbers there.
So,
but that's fine.
She's still got to fix her roster. She's got Eddie Lacy on a bye. Looks like she'll
probably play that Trey Mason kid.
Yeah, probably play Trey Mason. Probably do decent for her.
It looks like she got Larry Fitzgerald.
She finally. I think all the harping at work is finally got
paying off for her.
Yeah, so.
But it looks like Jay Rome's not really dealing with any bye week trouble. It looks like he's got his A squad out
I think Jay Rome's going to win this. Not high score. I think he may score 100 points.
I think overall we might only get 2 or 3 teams out of 100 this week.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. Yeah. There we go. We got the next matchup is Miles versus Brad. I think Brad is dealing with the wide receiver bye, and we love his wide receiving core.
Right, but he's dealing with it big time this week with
all
of his receivers on a bye this week.
Aaron Rodgers, Alshon Jeffrey, Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, all on a bye. Does this cost Brad the game?
I think so. I think Miles' team, we beat up on Miles, plenty.
He's got A.J. Green on the bench right now. I think he'll want to change that.
Well, maybe wait and just make sure he's in the play.
Yeah,
really, I think that's probably he's got both. It looks like he's put some effort into his lineup already this week with Martavius Bennett starting. He has Malcolm and Michael Floyd playing. That's his receiving core. I think that comes Saturday night, Sunday morning when he finds out if A.J. Green's good to go. A.J. Green goes in the lineup, and I predict Miles to win this one. And really, he's working his way back into it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Matchup of the week, for sure, is going to be Emily Scheib, the Rookie of the Year, and that bitches love cheese team versus the Who's Your Daddy team. And you know what it pains me to say?
This is scary.
That Jay might look to Emily and ask her something.
Who's your daddy and what does he do? Jay's predicted to put up 130 points. I don't think I've seen that number in a prediction ever. No, she's predicted, you throw in her defense, she's at 110. That's still a huge difference.
I know, but that's the thing. We've talked about it, though. We've talked about it. Emily makes you beat her.
Yeah,
and Jay's team's going to have...
Jay's going to...
Well, Jay's team's going to have to show up to beat her. It's not a walk.
No,
she dealt with her bye week trouble last week. Looks like she's got her lineup in. Looks like she's putting Brandon Cooks in this week. Maybe over Michael Crabtree, huh?
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks breaks out last week, scores a couple touchdowns for her.
It's going to be interesting to see what he does this week.
So, maybe she... There's a little strategy she could be playing here. When you're projected to lose by a lot, sometimes you go with the higher end projection.
Yeah.
Which
is what she's doing.
Right. Michael Crabtree's probably somebody you're going to count on for 10 points a week. Yeah. He's probably never going to put up 30, but he's always going to put up 10.
Agreed.
Brandon Cooks on that New Orleans offense, that's somebody who could just blow up, put up 27 points this week. I like that start. Unfortunately, I can't.
I'm going with Jay. I think Jay's, besides myself, I think Jay's going to be the other team that gets out of 100.
I don't see anybody beating Jay right now. My team at full strength, Jay's team at full strength right now. I have to go with Jay's team. Although, Anthony, I do have to say, I've seen this many times in fantasy where a team is just plowing through the regular season. They look great, and then all of a sudden they go away, due to injury. Yep. We've talked about.
Or just due to the fact that they've had a great first half and the second half's not as good.
Exactly. So I don't think. But you know what I like about Jay is that he hasn't sat on his team. No. He's trying to tool that bench up so that in case we do have some problems somewhere, he can actually plug in somebody.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Jay's team, probably 125 to 97.
Yeah, and one thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about injuries and how they affect rosters and what's going to happen here in the future. We've talked about it already, touched about a few things already. Let's talk about Giovanni Bernard and that backfield in Cincinnati. Now, actually, in one league, I think that probably one of the most important backup running backs to own right now, if you're a Giovanni Bernard owner, is Jeremy Hill. Because I think Jeremy Hill is fantasy gold if Gio goes down.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this too much because it makes me nervous. My running backs really do kind of carry my team. They put up usually the most points out of all my players. So having Gio and DeMarco Murray, both who are injury prone, scares me. So
it's 2 weeks in a row that Gio leaves the game.
Which 2 different injuries, thank God. One's his shoulder, one's his hip. The hip's the worst one, and this is why I would almost say against Jaguars, just sit him. Because what if he goes out and he destroys that hip, and now who is he?
Well, you're right, exactly. Maybe it's a game you can get by without him. I just think that it's interesting, and I think that's something that you'll need to look through. You got to find who owns Jeremy Hill. I think that maybe Jay's team number, he might be out on waiver land. Something you need to pick up, and that's something that you have to pick up. If you have an asset that's so huge to your team, especially at running back, you always have to have the backup. That's what we call a handcuff. If you own Matt Forte, you should have Kadeem Carey.
Yep.
You might not know who that is. That's the backup running back for the Bears, especially on a high-powered offense like that. Jeremy Hill, fantasy gold if Gio goes down. This week against the Jaguars at home, we hope. I own Gio in another league. I wouldn't mind him sitting him either.
Yeah, I'll get by.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't get by if he goes down.
Let's talk about a couple of receiving combinations that we might be concerned with. Calvin Johnson coming back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What do we think is going to happen to Golden Tate?
See, we
talked about it with AJ Green already.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think what's going to happen is Calvin's he's going to fall into that secondary, especially for that game. Calvin's going to obviously be the number one man, I think.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is, will Calvin perform like Calvin, or will he underperform and Golden Tate kind of fill in those shoes a little bit?
See, I think two different situations here. Okay. We talked about, it's kind of, they're parallel, but it's different. AJ Green in Cincinnati, Mohamed Sanu. I think they can coexist.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's going to be enough balls to go around that you're still starting Mohamed Sanu every week.
Yeah.
I see Matt Stafford and Calvin have played together for
so
long.
That's where I think you have that. Yeah.
Matty Stafford just says he's got eyes for Calvin, and that's it. And, I mean, that's a security blanket. I really think that once Calvin comes back, Golden Tate's going to go from being number one wide receiver on any fantasy team anywhere to a tough start at wide receiver 3.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Let's talk about Tony Romo real quick.
Yeah.
He gets in his back injured. He had surgery. We talked about it a little bit, so we don't have to go too much into it. But comes back into the game in the fourth quarter. I think it was a dumb move.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was trying to prove, that he's a man, whatever. But if you break your back, you're gonna be done.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about a regular season game against the Washington Redskins. We're 6-1 already from the Dallas
I don't
Cowboys.
care if you lose to the
So you're 6-2. Big deal.
Yeah, whatever. You're still leading.
You're still in the playoffs.
So
yeah, you're still going to be in the playoffs. You're still going to make the playoffs. You're still going to do well. I don't understand why it is that you'd risk injury in that situation. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but it just really makes no sense to me whatsoever. You have such a high-powered offense. You're relying on that offense to just. They're carrying them. I mean, the defense plays well for Dallas. Don't get me wrong.
The offense,
but I mean, all that firepower, all the money invested. I mean, did you see? You're watching the game. I see Jerry Jones down. He's up in the owner's box, happy as could be. Tony Romo goes down into the locker room to see how he's doing. I mean, he's investing $20 million a year in Tony Romo. I would have said no. You stay in the locker room. I disagree with him coming back on the team.
I do too, and. Something else we could touch on real quick. I mean, obviously he came back last week, 2 weeks in a row now. Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
Does good last week. He gets his targets back. Not as many.
Right.
They're still kind of keeping it off.
I think he's still a little tentative.
But I think we're going to see going in Thursday that he's probably
he's starting to trust that shoulder a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you watch Sunday Night Football, they touched upon it a little bit. It seemed like he was definitely avoiding contact with it, didn't want to go down on it. But then once he actually did go down on it, got popped once or twice, started to get a little bit more comfortable. His routes looked a little bit more fluid.
And they didn't look like decoys anymore.
Right.
It looked like they were trying to get him the ball.
Yeah, and they did give him the ball. He scored a touchdown last week. Yeah. And I think that, Jay Romo's him in early, but, I mean, Jimmy Graham owners have to take a big sigh of relief. Think that, okay, finally we've got our number one pick back.
Yeah. And then finally, Doug Martin's back, right?
D'Angelo Williams.
D'Angelo Williams. Yeah. But isn't Doug Martin back this week, too?
For Tampa, but I don't know. I mean, if you're looking for a running back, he might be out there. He's not owned in all leagues. Doug Martin could be a decent pickup. I mean, guy that has a lot of talent. Lovie Smith earlier this week, coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, says that Doug Martin deserves more touches. Yeah. Whatever that means, take it for what it is. They do play for the Buccaneers, not a high-powered offense. I own Doug Martin in this league. I'm not starting this week, despite my bye week trouble. I just haven't had a lot of faith in the Tampa offense.
I don't.
Somebody you could probably pick up, though, in a lot of leagues. Yeah. D'Angelo Williams comes back from injury. Somebody that probably a lot of people have given up on this year.
I gave up on.
Could have been out on the waiver wire. What do you think about D'Angelo? Is he going to come back?
I got him in like the 10th round. And he's going to 8th round. So I thought I had a good gem. That was going to be a gem.
Definitely a low risk, high reward.
Yeah, he gets injured. He sits out the first few weeks. He comes back. Starts to look like he's going to have a great game. Gets injured again.
Yeah.
Same ankle. Sits out. He's back now. He's had a longer stretch off this time. Is he back to full? I guess we're going to find out. But I wouldn't put faith into D'Angelo.
Yeah, I would stay away from D'Angelo. But I think that if you have an empty roster spot, he's worth picking.
Pick him up.
Yeah, pick him up, sit him on the bench for a couple of weeks, and who knows? I mean, that's a guy that's been capable of putting up 35, 40 fantasy points in a week back in his heyday. Who knows? He could find that magic again. I don't see it happening myself.
Looking for it.
Yeah, I don't see it happening this year, but it could. And if you're capable of having an open spot,
Then
that's
take 'em
somebody.
up.
Yeah,
Take 'em
somebody you have on your bench. Let's see here. Really, I think that does it here for week. I can't believe
Wraps
it's
us
only-
up. Week
only
9.
Week 9.
Almost done.
It's unbelievable. I really, the time flies by, and I mean, there's just, great sporting events going on this time of the year. I mean, I love it. World Series is on. World Series is over now.
Yeah.
NBA is starting up. NHL is just starting up.
Yeah. This is where our show will probably start shifting in a different directions here. Especially because our fantasy's going to end in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
What do we do next?
Well, I need suggestions of what you folks would like to hear us talk about. I mean, we can talk about anything. We're willing to talk about anything. Like I said, movies, whatever it is, we'd be happy to talk about it. Like last week, for example, in the state of Michigan, we have that Michigan State game.
Yeah,
Michigan State rolls all over them last week. We're gonna have
a huge rivalry. It's so awesome. Like I don't like either of the teams, but it's a huge. I come into work and green, blue, and it's just like
right.
It's just so to see people take pride, and, they're even if they didn't go there, they're taking pride.
Well, everybody in the state of Michigan, they've got a team. It's either state or Michigan.
I mean, just see that that's something.
No, it is. It's a fun thing. It's really cool to see. I mean, this is the first year of the college football playoff this year. We're gonna have that 4-team playoff.
Yeah.
They announced the initial rankings this year. Michigan State comes in, or this week for the first time. Michigan State comes in at number 8 for that playoff ranking, and we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I can't imagine how much fun it would be if a team like Michigan State gets into that playoff. Where we're going to have a semifinal and a final this year, and we're actually going to play it out in the field. It'd be really interesting to see. I mean, really, you think about how far the Spartans have come in 5-6 years. And Mark D'Antoni, I mean, really, it goes to show you what great leadership does. That team's gone from somebody who was a 500 team year in and year out to now they're a top 10 team in the country every year. And we're talking about them maybe winning a national championship.
I got a question for you guys. I started playing fantasy hockey and fantasy basketball this week. My first year doing it, but I figured this is what we want to do. If we want to continue the show in a fantasy way, I need to dive into those leagues and try to get a taste for it. I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
So hit us up on that at Clubhouse Weekly. Let me know what's going on. Like I'm winning right now, 5-2 in both of them. I don't even know how I got a point.
Yeah. And I can't help them out with that.
So I need your help.
I play fantasy football. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should get into it. Maybe we'll work on it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a little.
I like it.
Fantasy basketball 5-minute segment next week.
I like it. Do we got some sponsors today?
Always, as always, we have sponsors to thank. Our lovely venue, Clubhouse BFD. You know what Clubhouse BFD has?
Beer,
food,
and drinks.
Love it.
What else we got? I think my favorite pair of pants.
Oh, Wrangler jeans.
Comfort.
Where a man needs it.
That U-shaped comfort, folks.
My favorite sponsor, as always, L&M Cigarettes, because they only taste expensive, folks.
Well, that's it for us at Clubhouse Weekly. I'm Anthony Johnson.
David Robinson.
You have a good night.
Good night.